let's get started. As usual, if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. Today's topic is something that is a little bit underrated, a little bit overlooked by a lot of people, but it does make a huge difference in your marks, and that's planning your composition. All right, so how many of you don't plan your composition? Let's be honest. I'm not going to call out your names, but okay, let's see. How many hands do I have? Oh no, it's not a good thing. Okay, so five of you, and I assume that the rest of you plan. How long do you plan? How long do you plan? Just you plan in your head. Oh no, that's not. Well, I mean, it's good to visualize in your mind exactly what your character is doing, but of course, please do remember that when you're under a lot of stress, you might be like me and tend to forget a lot of things. So in that case, I would really advise you to pen down your thoughts on what you think the topic means, especially, all right, and the picture, how it works, etc. All right. So that is something that I hope to teach you today. You don't have to spend a lot of time planning. I know that in a lot of tuition centers, they'll ask you to plan for about 15 minutes. We try to keep it from 5 to 10 minutes so that the rest of your time can be spent on actually writing your work, plotting out the details, adding all of the important, sentence features that make your story a lively one. So I would recommend you to probably, spend 5 to 10 minutes planning. So that's a very good gauge. If you're planning too much, then you might want to just move on from then. Okay. So planning your composition consists of two things, really. It's about making sure that the picture was used, and then, of course, making sure that you address the topic. Now, a lot of teachers are going to teach you to probably label these. How many of you have had this experience? Your teacher is going to tell you, okay, let's label this. This is a boy. He's riding a bicycle. And you go through all of the usual things like describing, okay, what sort of maybe the attire's color, etc. And then likewise for the rest of these, you will go, okay, this is candle, all of the words you can think of related to the picture, candle, wax, flame, etc. All right, and then you will go to the next picture and do the captioning, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, that is not a bad thing to have. I aim to supplement this skill a little bit more. I'm going to add to that skill. I'm going to add to that skill and make sure that your story is very, very much relevant, okay? Because even if you do use the pictures, sometimes you're not addressing the topic. All right, so for example, on the topic of a dangerous situation, and you don't have to write this compo for me, okay? I'm not going to mark it, but if you want to write it for your own teachers in school, you can definitely give that a try. So what you want to do is you really, really write down the topic. Okay, so what I advise students to do before even writing their entire compo, do two things. Besides planning, you want to also write down the topic at the top of the page. Not because you want to tell the teacher, here's the topic that I've chosen, or here's the topic, and reminding the teacher that, oh yeah, the topic is a dangerous situation. It's more an idea that will help you as you are writing. So right before even after you've planned, some students might still have a very relevant plot, but this is a reminder to you that when you get to the dangerous situation, you got to describe it in as much detail as possible, and you've also got to just you've also just got to stay on point. All right, so everything leading up to the dangerous situation, all the solutions after that as well. Let's do a quick little check. Okay, so we've done the pictures. Most of you are quite skilled at using the pictures. Let's focus a little bit more on the topic. Now, let's imagine I didn't give you the pictures. We need to check how the topic is. Okay, so let's check your understanding of the topic. It says, read through this list of possible stories about a dangerous situation and tick the ones that are suitable. Okay, so as you plot out the stories in your mind, you must look at the story plot and then check back to the topic. Look at the story plot, check back to the topic. And then here, of course, it would be a good idea for you to write down as many story plots as you have, and then start to think about what's similar among these and which might not be very good for you to write. Okay, so let's read these. For the sake of time, I'm going to read these for you, okay? Thomas and Joan were playing catch in a field when Joan slipped and fell. She broke her arm. Thomas had to run home for help. Joan was later rushed to the hospital. Okay, so that's story plot number one. Have a think about if it's suitable or not. And in your own mind or on a piece of paper, you can mark whether it's suitable or not. Okay, plot number two. Emily loved rollerblading every evening after school. On a Wednesday evening, it began to pour as she was skating around. She sped up to reach the shelter, but ended up skidding off the pavement and collided with a moving car. Oh, is this considered a dangerous situation? Is this something you'd like to plot out in your composition? Have a think about it. Tick if you think that this is the one. Okay, so there are a couple of answers, of course, more than one answer. I would say three acceptable plots, and not and the rest are not so acceptable. Plot number 3, we have Davina was helping her mother spring clean their home in preparation for Deepavali. While wiping down the balcony doors, Davina lost balance and nearly toppled over the railing. Thankfully, her mother caught her in time. Have a think. Is this suitable? Is this something you'd like to write a story about? Have a think. All right, number 4, Henry set his belongings down beside him while waiting for the bus. He was busy chatting with friends when he noticed his bus arrive. He boarded the bus and left his belongings behind. Okay, so that's another one, which is number 4. Have a think about it. And finally, we have number 5. It was Meryl's first day on the job, and she was placed in charge of the deep oil fryers to fry French fries. In her haste and nervousness, Meryl was careless with the equipment, and she scalded herself from the hot oil. Some of you are already asking me in the chat. It's very good, okay? It shows me that you guys are paying attention and you're very curious to learn. But the word scalded, in case you didn't know, it's to burn yourself, but using elements of liquid, okay? So it's not the same as burning yourself with a fire, but it's kind of like, okay, if you have hot water, hot oil, any sort of warm liquid that really causes any damage to your skin, that's called scalding. Scalding, not scolding. That's a different thing. All right. Okay, so let's have a think. Which of these are suitable? You can type to me in the chat the ones that you think will probably pass. You would like to write a compo on it. Okay, remember that there are 3 correct answers. Let's see if you guys can get it. I'm just going to pause here and let you guys puzzle it through and then send me your answers. I see that. Okay, some of you need a little bit more encouragement. Please do type out your answers. No worries here. And you're muted, so you don't have to worry about what your friends say. Okay, so I'd really like those 2 students who are not participating to please try. All right? Yeah, you'll have a private message from me in a bit. Okay, so let's have a think about it. All right, so most of you have written down your answers. I'm very glad that some of you have pointed out that 2, 3, and 5 are very suitable plots, and then 1 and 4 are not so. And for those of you who didn't get this, don't worry. You can, of course, try and think about why these answers are correct, why your answer might not be suitable, okay? So let's go through these one by one. All right, so Emily loved rollerblading every evening after school. On a Wednesday evening, it began to pour, and she ended up skidding off the pavement and collided with a moving car. It is pretty dangerous, right? This is the sort of thing that your parents will warn you about. In terms of a dangerous situation, this is pretty, well, it's not ideal in the sense that you don't want to get caught in this sort of situation, but it is an ideal story. Okay, so it seems like somebody's getting hurt. Okay, likewise for number 3 and number 5. Number 3, we don't see anybody getting hurt necessarily, but it seems like she's almost getting hurt, right? Her mother caught her in time and she nearly toppled over the railing. Anybody want to tell me in the chat what would have happened if she did topple over the railing? How come this is considered a dangerous situation? Right. Okay. She would get seriously injured. You're absolutely right there. Okay. So, and some of you also pointing out that she might die. Right. Okay. So yes. So it seems like you would be, it would be very life-threatening. Okay. A dangerous situation might also cause you serious harm. Okay. You might have scars and all of that sort of thing. Okay. Number 4 would be Henry set his belongings down beside him while waiting for the bus. He was busy chatting with his friends when he noticed his bus arrived and he boarded the bus and left his belongings behind. We don't consider this as a good solution. Does anybody want to come tell me why? You can type in the chat. Nobody died. Well, yeah, it is not a wrong thing to say. Yeah, something like nobody died. Somebody said, oh, nobody got hurt. Good. Okay, so the two of you are on the right track here. There's nothing life-threatening. There's nothing that shows that this person seriously got harmed. Okay, and so therefore, this is not a dangerous situation, even though it's an unpleasant situation. All right, a problem that you wish wouldn't happen to you. It's not dangerous at all. Okay, so we have number 5. It was Meryl's first day on the job. Okay, and it mentioned here that she was scalded, right? So this is the part that shows you that this is dangerous. Okay, the deep oil fryers to fry French fries. If it's serious enough, sometimes you might get 3rd-degree burns, which is when you get wounded all the way past your skin. Okay, so you're gonna have permanent damage on yourself. So that does sound like serious harm. What about this? Thomas and Joan were playing catch in a field when Joan slipped and fell. She broke her arm and Thomas had to run home for help. Okay, does anybody want to tell me why this isn't considered a dangerous situation? Which sentence tells you that? First sentence, second sentence, third sentence, fourth sentence? All right. Well, that's true. Thomas and Joan were playing catch in the field. Okay, so yeah, that's not dangerous. You're only playing catch in the field. How come that's dangerous? It just seems like a serious accident. Okay. On the other hand, let's contrast this with number 5. This is definitely something dangerous to do. This is a dangerous action, right? Because you might get seriously hurt. 9 times out of 10, when you go work in a McDonald's, for example, right, they will teach you how to use the deep oil fryers, but they're very careful to explain things like you need to have your safety gear on. You need to make sure that you lower the French fries into the oil very slowly, just so that you don't get hurt. Okay, so it's more likely to happen that you will get hurt. So you want to try and think of it this way. A dangerous situation is one that you can predict is going to lead you to a life-threatening situation or some serious harm, right? It's more likely that dangerous or terrible things happen to you, and that's why we consider them dangerous. All right. Okay. So this one, John and Thomas, it's not really, catching isn't dangerous. It's just a small accident. All right. So some of you are right in saying that it is a little bit trickier to really solidify this idea in your mind. So what we'll do is I'll give you 2 situations. One of them is harmless and one of them is not. Okay. So running home in the rain. Okay. Somebody slipped and fell. Slipped and fell and broke their arm. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, so somebody did a bicycle stunt and almost landed on their head. Which of these is the dangerous situation? I'm just gonna pause here and okay, you know what? Let me label them 1 and 2. All right, so which of these is the dangerous situation, you think? Which of these is super duper dangerous? Yeah, number 2, right? Doing the bicycle stunt is more likely to hurt you. Even though it didn't happen this time around, it was still pretty dangerous. 9 times out of 10, when you run home in the rain, it doesn't cause you to hurt. Okay, so that's one way you can think about it. So you see that there are very subtle differences between being on topic and being off topic. So even if you label the pictures, if your topic is not covered well, unfortunately, you're not going to score well at all. So in some cases, a lot of teachers will automatically score you between 0 to 4 out of 20 on your content, even in spite of the good things that you have written. So even if you have a very good vocabulary, if you still don't get the topic right, you're going to get 0 to 4 marks, which is very hard to recover from. A lot of students will fail as a result. And since I don't want this to happen to you, I will remind you again. There are a couple key takeaways for you. One of them is to plan. Okay, take some time to plan. Consider the topic as much as you can, and then look at the plots that you have. Try and rule out which one of these can be used, which one of these cannot be used. All right, so in this case, we looked at 5 different ones that don't necessarily use the picture, but we were discussing whether they fit the topic or not. Okay, so then you need to select, and you have to select very, very carefully. Some of these are good answers, some of these are not. All right, so with that out of the way, I will stay for any questions. Any questions? All right, then. In that case, thank you very much for attending, and I'll see you guys probably 2 weeks from now for the next sharing. All the best on your end of your exams, and happy Teachers Day. Please wish your teachers for me instead. All right, I'll see you. Bye.